This morning, a significant change in how Texans will vote. Democrats with that big legal win letting anyone vote by mail. We'll ask Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton his next move. What will it take to reopen the state economy? Doctors and business leaders both say more testing. But Texas ranks as one of the worsts for that. One of our questions for U.S. Senator John Cornyn. More than 1 million Texans have filed for unemployment, but that figure leaves out something important. Ross Ramsey in Austin to explain. And the quickest vaccine ever developed took 4 years. Why Congressman Michael Burgess thinks the COVID vaccine will be different.
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good morning. We have several of the top state officials with us in this program. Let's first, though, get you caught up on the top political headlines we are watching right now. A significant win for Texas Democrats in court. They argued successfully that even if you don't have a disability, you should still be able to vote by mail during the coronavirus. A judge agreed. This is likely to be appealed, though. It's something we'll ask the Attorney General about in just a moment. President Trump has called on Jerry Jones and Mark Cuban to help reopen the national economy. The owner of the Cowboys and the Dallas Mavs are two of about 50 business leaders advising the president, though we don't yet know what either Texan has told Trump about the timing for all of this. And a Houston judge has blocked jail inmates from being released from fear of the coronavirus. Harris County wanted to release nonviolent offenders to prevent COVID-19 from spreading in the jail. Governor Abbott blocked it, and a judge agreed that Abbott's executive order should stand. The coronavirus has created political divisions among us. Those jail inmates, for example, are abortion clinics, essential services, places of worship. How about voting by mail? We've seen Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton argue for and against these in court lately, and much more are popping up each week. General Paxton is our first guest this morning. General Paxton, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you doing?
We're doing well. On what grounds do you think your office will appeal the vote by mail decision?
Well, it's not within a judge's purview or responsibility to change Texas law, and that's what she's done. She's basically said anybody that has a fear of contracting COVID-19 can do mail-in ballot. That's just not what the law says, and judges don't have the responsibility of changing what the legislature's done. They have the job of interpreting it. And so we're fairly sure that we'll be able to overturn that decision in Travis County. Well,
you probably know that Washington State has successfully had vote by mail for years up there. What do you think would happen if Texas had vote by mail? What are you afraid of with that? What's the worry?
Well, so my job isn't really to decide what the policy is. My job is to enforce Texas law. As a Texas legislator, my fear when I was in the Texas House, Texas Senate was that vote by mail has a lot more risk as it relates to fraud and people not being the people they say they are when they send in the ballot. So it does create greater risk, and there's no doubt that the incidence of fraud goes up.
General Paxton, your office has been busy lately. I understand your office has received, 8,000 price gouging complaints, which is quite a bit in the last month or so. But you're already taking action to sue some businesses. Tell me some of the action you're taking and what this is for.
So typically we're looking at essential items. In this case, they're different than they were in a hurricane. We have, masks and other issues, ventilators, things that we otherwise wouldn't have had. And so we've sued companies, like one of them was called Auctions Unlimited, for price gouging on products that are necessary for the survival of some of these people and also for some of our medical providers. So our job is to enforce Texas law, and our job is to make sure that as it relates to items that are essential right now, that that people are not price gouging. They're certainly allowed to continue to make a profit. And there's nothing wrong with fluctuating prices as long as they're not exorbitant and related to something essential.
General Paxton, on Friday, the governor announced that you were part of the statewide task force to reopen the state. What exactly will you be doing and your office be doing as far as reopening Texas?
So, we're always honored to help the governor. He's got a big job and obviously a very difficult job right now, balancing the risk of life with this COVID-19 with economic prosperity. And it's you make one decision and it harms us in one way, you make another decision, it harms in another way. And so we're there to help with the legal angle of this. Any legal questions that come up, and then believe me, there have been many, just even with the executive orders he's issued so far. And so we're constantly dealing with, the interplay between federal, state, local law, and also, constitutional issues. Just a lot of issues that maybe none of us have ever thought about dealing with before or ever dealt with in the past.
Well, I want to ask you about one of the executive orders that he announced on Friday. He said that elective surgeries would be allowed once again. Isn't that going to make it a lot harder to keep abortion clinics closed? Because the governor said his order did not necessarily impact abortion clinics.
So it's going to be hard to tell because we haven't had a great opportunity yet to look at the language of that. And, everything turns on particular facts and the law. And so this is basically a new law that's being written today that we haven't had a real chance to get through and do the analysis. And
I can hear your phone there ringing in the background. I know you stay busy. Just want to keep you for a few more questions on this. Have you or your wife, State Senator Angela Paxton, have you all been tested for the coronavirus?
Actually, we have not, and neither one of us have been ill. We have a way of, we check our temperature just about every day, sometimes several times a day, just to see if we're normal. And so far, we've been in good health and had a normal temperature.
Testing is obviously another big concern a lot of people have. Dr. Hellerstadt, the commissioner for the Department of State Health Services, says more testing is on the way. Do you think that you might, or this state might run into some legal challenges reopening without testing in place?
There's going to be legal issues no matter what we do. We're in uncharted territory. We're dealing with issues that people have never thought about. And, they might have been thought about in a law school exam, but never thought anybody would actually have to deal with them. And so, there's going to be legal challenges, and there's going to be challenges for us trying to make sure we navigate between individual liberty and protecting the health and safety of our citizens.
Yeah, and I'm just curious because you're joining us from your home in Collin County. Are you doing a lot of your work from home, or are you back and forth to Austin down there in the office on the Capitol grounds?
So most of my people are telecommuting. So over 90% of our people are working from home. So I'm doing mostly the same thing. So I would say I am on the phone 12 to 17 hours a day. I could be on really 24 hours a day if I could give up the sleep. But the reality is that's my day. It's starting on the phone early and staying on the phone all day, communicating with my office, but also people across the state and really across the country. Yeah,
and we heard the phone ringing a moment ago in our interview here. We'll let you go. Thanks for making time for us, General Paxton. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason. Have a great day and be safe.
The unemployment rate continues to climb in our state. As of last week, more than 1 million Texans have filed for it. But the Texas Workforce Commission is overwhelmed with requests, and that means we likely don't know the real number of the unemployed in Texas. That is a reality not lost on Ross Ramsey. He's the co-founder and executive editor of the Texas Tribune in Austin for us. Good morning, Ross.
Good morning, Jason. How are you?
Doing well. You bring up a good point. If you can't process all of these applications for unemployment, you really can't count them.
Most of these people are getting busy signals when they call in. The Texas Workforce Commission is completely overwhelmed. So overwhelmed, in fact, that they've just said, hey, we're completely overwhelmed. They've hired a bunch of people. They've increased the number of lines they're processing as fast as they're able to do right now, but they're way behind. So the reality here is that the unemployment claims are probably going to be much higher when all of these claims are processed.
And when it all shakes out. Let's talk about voting by mail. If this happens, what do you think the chances are that Texas might increase the opportunities for people to vote by mail?
Well, one of the questions here is if you did take the state to vote by mail, can the state even do that? Do we have the facilities to count those ballots? It may mean a slow count in November. They've got to print a bunch of stuff. They don't print now because they're on electronic machines. There's a lot of logistical stuff, but the main fight at the moment is whether absentee voting as we have it now should be expanded to other voters in this age of coronavirus.
The age we live in. Ross, back to you in a moment. Thank you. Coming up, conservatives are protesting across the country to reopen the economy. When should that happen? It's one of our questions for U.S. Senator John Cornyn. And thousands of small businesses shut out of the Paycheck Protection Program. Politics is delaying the assistance. We'll ask Congressman Michael Burgess about that when we return. You're watching Inside Texas Politics. To allay anxiety, business leaders reportedly told the president not to reopen the economy until people can get tested for the coronavirus. When it comes to testing, though, Texas is the second worst in the country per capita, barely in front of Kansas. That's according to the Houston Chronicle. So when might that improve? U.S. Senator John Cornyn agreed to take our questions from Washington, D.C. Good morning to you, Senator.
Good morning.
Well, why aren't there more tests in Texas? And specifically, when will someone like me, who obviously doesn't have any symptoms, I'm not sick, when can I get tested in this state?
Well, if you don't have any symptoms of the coronavirus, there's not a great reason to get tested. You could test clear today and get it tomorrow. And so then you have the question of how broad spread the nasal swab quick test how many of those are really needed for us to begin to get back to normal. Perhaps the one that will provide the greatest opportunity will be a serology test, which will be a little pinprick on your finger and be used more or less like a home pregnancy test. I talked to the folks at Abbott Labs yesterday. That's one of the things they think has the greatest capacity to scale up and provide people some knowledge that, yeah, I have the antibodies. I'm not likely to get the coronavirus again.
When will that happen, Senator?
Pardon me?
When will that happen, that pinprick test? How soon might that be widespread, distributed widely, rather?
Well, that's the $64,000 question. It's now been approved on an emergency basis by the Food and Drug Administration. As you know, all this has had to surge, and we're a big country, so it's been prioritized to healthcare professionals and law enforcement, but eventually will be much more broadly available.
On Friday, President Trump tweeted out, "Liberate Virginia, liberate Minnesota, liberate Michigan," as well, suggesting that they need to be reopened immediately. A lot of conservatives are saying that they want to reopen the economy as soon as possible. Do you see any chance that any of Texas's major urban centers might fully reopen by the 1st of June, let's say?
Well, I support federalism. That means that the states get to make calls that affect their states, and local leaders like the mayor, Mayor Johnson, who I've been talking to on a regular basis, and the county judge, they get to make the call based on local conditions. That's what I understood the president to say last night. But I know we're all anxious to begin to try to get back to whatever the new normal looks like. But we ought to listen to the public health officials, and that public health ought to dictate the speed at which we begin to get back to that new normal.
President Trump is suspending funding to the World Health Organization during this global pandemic. Is that a good idea?
Well, there's a lot of concern that the World Health Organization was complicit, along with China, in hiding information about this pandemic and allowed it to spread after a period of time after they knew about it. And that's egregious. And I support reforming the WHO. I think somebody needs to perform that function. But the way that it allowed China to get away with spreading this virus long before anybody else knew about it is really reprehensible.
And Senator, a lot of people are just now getting their stimulus checks, the $1,200 checks that have gone out to Texans and nationwide. Do you expect there will be a second round of stimulus checks to individuals?
Well, I hope we won't need it, but I think if we do, this is an emergency, and we ought to be willing to consider things that otherwise we wouldn't consider. But the hope is that together with the other portions of the CARES Act, which enhances unemployment insurance, we've extended the period of time, broadened the basis for people to make those claims, and added a $600 federal benefit on top of it, together with the money that we've sent to small businesses to incentivize them to keep their payroll intact through June. Our hope is that that's going to be sufficient. A lot of that money isn't out the door yet, but if we need to do more, I'm sure we will.
All right. U.S. Senator John Cornyn, thanks for joining us from D.C., and stay healthy.
Thanks, Jason. Same to you.
Thousands of small businesses counting on federal help have been shut out of the Paycheck Protection Program. That's a forgivable loan that businesses can use to keep employees on the payroll. But it took less than 2 weeks to burn through $350 billion that Congress set aside. Now Republicans and Democrats are at a stalemate on adding more money. Congressman Michael Burgess is a Republican from Denton County. He is live with us this morning from Lake Dallas. Congressman, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, Jason.
Good to see you. I have some health questions for you, but first I want to start with the Paycheck Protection Program. Sure. It's out of money. Thousands of small businesses waiting to find out if they will get this loan. Everyone agrees this isn't a time for politics. If both sides can't agree, can't one side say, hey, give me what I want for this one. Everyone knows there has to be a third stimulus coming.
Right. Well, actually, I prefer to call them response bills rather than stimulus bills or rescue bills. Stimulus implied that there was something wrong with the economy. There was nothing wrong with the economy until it got sick from a virus. And we will fix the virus eventually. So arguably, the economy will emerge on the other side. That's the whole purpose of the response bills, is so that there is some existing economic infrastructure on the other side of this. Look, it's fairly straightforward. Put another $250 billion into the program, and people can continue to receive the help that has been so popular. I don't know whether the Small Business Administration has ever acted with such agility as they have in getting almost 1 million loans out the door in a week's time. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, but both sides can't agree on this. Why isn't leadership getting to the point, Congressman, where they're saying, okay, you know what? Side A, if you want this, you can have this time. We all know another rescue bill is coming. We're going to do this on the third bill. Why are we playing politics in D.C. right now with this?
I can't answer the question. I'll get you the speaker's number, and you may ask that question yourself.
Give me that number, definitely.
This is not a time. You're right. There is going to need to be another response bill. So if there. And I'm not of the mind that this last bill, the 3.0 response, the one that's known as CARES Act,
right.
It was a big bill, $2.25 trillion. We did it in 5 days. I don't kid myself that there are not things we're going to need to go in and fix. So there will likely be another legislative activity. But this one is just a continuation of a rescue package that, again, has done so much good for so many people. For heaven's sakes, get the dollars out the door, put gas in the tank, and let's go.
Let's talk about President Trump and so many conservatives saying they want to reopen the economy. You're one of a dozen or so doctors in D.C., in Congress. Should that do you think realistically reopening in your district in North Texas, will that happen before June 1st?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question, but look, think about it for a minute. It's not like a light switch. It's not a binary choice, either on or off. Think of it more like a dimmer switch or a rheostat, if you will.
Right.
And in different places of the country, the rheostat can be turned up or relaxed, whatever the term we should use, at different rates. And here's the key. And I think the White House is well aware of this and well on top of this. When you begin to do that in parts of the country, you got to be ready to go in with overwhelming force if there is a hot spot that emerges. And remember, that's one of the things about this virus that's been so damaging, is its ability to be a super spreader. And we've all seen areas where that has happened.
Indeed so, but you've seen what's going on in your district. Do you think it's likely this is going to happen in the next 5 to 6 weeks, that we're going to reopen businesses in your district?
I think it is an eminent possibility, and here's the deal. You have to be sure the hospital capacity. I mean, the administration outlined the things, the conditions that have to be met. The hospitals have to be ready to handle the surge capacity. You have to be able to provide the testing real time, the point of care testing that people need to be able to make informed decisions. But look, we have done enormous damage to our economy, and I hear about that every day, the very painful stories of people. And even, in the healthcare sector, cutting out all elective surgeries, all elective procedures. I ran my medical practice for years. That's your cash flow. You can't exist if you cut that out. So there's no wonder that people are asking, encouraging, demanding that we begin to think this through. And is there a way? Does everything have to be kept completely shut down? The answer may be no. Let's do it in phases. Let's be smart about it. Let's be sure we're ready to respond if things don't go the way we'd like.
Gotcha. Congressman, we are out of time. Good to see you again. Stay healthy there in Lake Dallas as well. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up, Governor Abbott out with his own guidance on how and when to reopen the Texas economy. We're going to start there next on the Roundtable.
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley.
For Reporters Roundtable, to put the headlines in perspective, Ross is back. Bud Kennedy from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram is here, and Bernadine Steptoe has the week off. And Ross, we're going to start with you and Governor Abbott's plan to reopen Texas. He was saying that non-essential surgeries can begin again. School is out for the rest of the school year, and retail to go is starting this coming Friday.
Yeah, he's going to try to open this up. He didn't promise any dates that the state would return to normal. He's trying to get as many things open as he safely can, but he was very careful to say that public health was going to be in front of the economic concerns. He's got an advisory panel of medical people to help him with that, and another panel of business people to help him with the other part. See how it goes.
And Bud, of course, he did say that, like Ross mentioned, that public health is paramount here. But this is a big conservative push to reopen the economy.
Yeah, exactly. The most important thing was what Governor Abbott didn't say. He didn't say the things the Freedom Caucus wanted him to say about open everything back up, to heck with the COVID, let the money flow. He didn't say any of those things. He said he's going to be careful, take medical advice. Dr. Hellerstadt's given him good advice so far. Texas has been careful. Governor Abbott is a judge. His judicial temperament is making him slowly stay the course. He's doing that with COVID.
And of course, Ross, the president made his announcement on Thursday. Then the governor comes out on Friday. This was kind of carefully timed, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, Governor Abbott's been in the loop. He's been regularly talking to Mike Pence, who's heading up the White House's planning on this. And they've tried to coordinate this. One example of that was when we talked last, this was going to happen on Wednesday. It got pushed to Thursday and then to Friday just so that they could get all their ducks lined up.
Yeah. Bud, Texans are worried about money and waiting on the stimulus checks. Democrats keep talking a lot about voting by mail. Why is that a big deal right now?
I don't really understand either, Jason. The Democrats believe that voting by mail is their big issue right now, and I don't think it resonates with the people. The people are worried about, first of all, they're worried about, where are all the corona tests? Why can't they get tested? And second, they're worried about, where's the money? Why is all the loan money run out? Why is all the unemployment money run out? I think Democrats should worry about complaining why the state government isn't working better.
All right, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching as well. We'll be back next Sunday with more Inside Texas Politics. Hope you have a good day, and don't forget to practice social distancing. Stay healthy.